All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Hardwork, Bad Decisions, the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's talk about it. And today, we got some awesome guests, 3 black belts, particularly the one that gave me my black belt, Yako Khalili. We also have Steve Martin, which is another black belt on the Yako, and Jeff Desala, right? Which is also another black belt. So together, we create the Death Squad, which is a team that Yako is starting to put together, and I'm excited to bring us to you. Let's introduce first Yako. Tell a little bit about yourself.
My name is Yako Khalili. I was born and raised in Hawaii. I went to high school there and everything, and joined the Army in 1997. Did 21 years in the Army. During my 21 years, I was teaching Combatives, and that's when I earned my black belt under Matt Larson and Jacare Cavalcani of the Lance BJJ, and I had the awesome pleasure of running into these guys and meeting them, and more importantly, training with them and sharing some blood, sweat, and tears with these guys. And here we are today, over 10 years later.
Yeah, so I met Yako in 2011 at a gym called Altitude MMA, and throughout the years, we always stayed in contact. He helped me throughout my MMA career. Obviously, he helped me in BJJ, so it's just been a true pleasure. And we had this like weird circle of running into people that we knew. Like your first instructor, what was his name again? Agent
Barry Yoshida.
Yeah. I competed against him in like 2000, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something like that. He choked me out, so it wasn't much of a match. But that was his first instructor. Then I brought in another instructor for my gym, another black belt. His name is Justin Mercado, who was a guy you started with back in Hawaii. It's just such a small world.
Yeah, it was crazy coming into this gym and seeing him 20 years later. 20 years later. And we both started at the same gym, trained under the same people, and somehow we ended up in the same gym again here in Colorado.
Yo, this community is so small and niche, and there's so much family. And then from there, you introduced me to these guys. I'm gonna start with Steve Martin, which is
Steve Martin.
Yeah, Steve Martin is kind of hard to forget his name. So tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, just like Yako, I'm coming up with my 22 years in the Army, about to get out next month.
Nice.
Black belt in Combatives, black belt in BJJ under Yako, just like the rest of us. Yeah, and I've been doing Combatives since 07. I got level 3.
Yeah.
So since then, that's what just kept me going in the Army all these years. I had no idea my life was coming down this path, you know. It was very fortunate to meet you guys. My best friends, you know, along with my training partners.
That's also the fact that you've been training soldiers, just like Yako, and also Jeff, for so many years. What if something like you came across, what's a good memory of you training soldiers and helping them become more combative and yeah? Oh
man, so many years. I love just seeing a soldier, you know, like seeing them come in with no experience. They joined the Army because they wanted to be a badass, they wanted to be a warrior, and then they join and they realize that isn't every soldier. So for them to come into Combatives and see, you know, it doesn't matter what MOS you had, you could be combat arms, you could be a cook, you could be supply, you know, we get the same training. You know, you're learning how to do Jiu-Jitsu as our ground base, and then we come up to you know, kickboxing and MMA fighting, to putting on the gear, putting on the equipment, going against multiple assailants at the same time through rooms. And when I get them to that level, when they're going through rooms as, you know, like a cook being led by an infantry guy, you know, it's pretty amazing to see like how the warrior spirit is inside every soldier. You know,
yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, you know, when I started training BJJ back in 2005, Combatives wasn't much of a thing, especially on full Carson.
Oh, yeah.
I really wish that Combatives was big back when I was actually getting out. I probably would have stayed in, especially if I could have been an instructor or someone along that line.
That's why we stayed in.
Yeah, right. Like, oh man, you guys are so lucky. And Jeff, what's your story?
So I served 14 years in the Army. I got out in 2016. So I came across, well, the Army brought me here to Colorado Springs, and like the level of UFC and all that brought me to the gym I trained with you at, Coach Chuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yo, you're right. I remember you from Congo. You were the first one I met. I knew you before I knew these guys. Oh my God, I forgot Congo. Okay, hold on. We gotta talk about
Raquel
that.
Benitez.
Yeah, Raquel Benitez. We gotta talk about the Combatives, right? So Combatives was one of the first gyms in Colorado Springs. It was like one of those rough and tough. We just bang on each other. Yeah, we lay down puzzle mats and ballies back when ballies was a thing. And we would just beat each other up, and that was it. It was like not much technique or teaching.
Not at all. Actually, just have a partner and just go at it.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny. That's awesome.
The great thing about that gym was that's what made me tough.
Yeah.
You know, and that forced me to go on my own and learn the technique on my own.
Yeah.
Kind of self-instruct me so that I go back to the gym and not get beat up as much. But I always came back.
Yeah, true that. I tell you what, it's the same reason why I started Victory. It's because when I was training at Commodore, I realized Colorado Springs needed a gym with a decent instructor who was passionate about the sport and passionate about teaching, and not just passionate about beating each other up. And so it's so funny how we started there and we kind of left, but we went on to keep learning, and later on became black belts.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I have a question for everybody. So like I said, the podcast is called Hardwork, Bad Decisions. So I'm gonna give you a second to think about it, but I want everybody to come out with something that you had to overcome in your martial art journey. Because this is important, because every time people start martial arts, right, it's called a Donna Cougar effect. Meaning that you start with a high level of confidence but low level of experience, right? And so what happens is you just get beaten up. So you go through a valley of despair. You drop down and you realize you're not as good as you thought you was. But for us, we kept going. So what happens is your level of experience grows with your level of confidence. And then that's how you actually obtain a black belt and become actually proficient in your martial arts. But most people quit, right? They hit that roadblock, oh man, I'm getting beaten up, this is too tough, I got injuries, and I quit. So tell a story of how you faced something that was really tough, but you didn't quit.
And so I think the hardest thing for soldiers in the Army, and that's really what I did talk about, was having to balance being in the Army all day and then having a family and then trying to train. I feel like life gets in the way of a lot of our goals, and that's when you can really tell who the fighters are, people who really want this.
Yeah.
Is regardless of working all day or having a family, like those guys that make time to come to the gym, that don't make excuses while having my kids, or it's the guys that are working around all of those things that come to training. Though that's the hardest thing is continuing to pursue your passion. You can't have a passion and then sometimes it becomes inconvenient and then stop training.
Okay, so how do you get past that?
You just have to make those conscious decisions of working together with your partner, or even just sacrificing your personal time to train.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you see that a lot. You see these guys come in and they don't have a family or they don't have a girlfriend and they're in here all the time, and as soon as one of those things happens, you know what I mean? You never see them.
Where's Johnny? Johnny got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
You don't see Johnny no more.
Hey, don't date that girl, bro. You never see him again.
Yeah, girls make your legs weak. Or vice versa. Maybe the girl find a boyfriend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But life will get in the way, and life will, I think we all know that life will hold you down if you allow it to. Yeah. And I think we lose a lot of people to those things. So we just have to, sacrifice our personal time to get in here and sweat it out.
Yeah, that's really tough because, we sometimes forget about what was our goal. We came into this with an ultimate goal to be as best as we can, and we let these little small things kind of intervene, right? And I'm not saying having a girlfriend or a fiance or a wife is a small thing, but those are things we can incorporate into our lives, and those honestly could become inspirations and motivation. Honestly,
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because I want to be good to provide for my family and maybe have my own school or become a fighter and make some money. So, Steve, I know we got the phone going on, but that's okay. We work through it. Tell me something that you had to overcome in your martial arts journey.
Oh yeah, so just like Yaka was saying, you got you got so much time to go to work, so much time to be with family, so much time to be you do hobbies and everything. I came up in the Army as a single parent, so I had to you do double time, as far as raising kids. So I was like, well, how can I make my hobby and my job the same thing? And so that's how I into the whole idea.
He double dipped, but he killed two birds with one stone. Just cheated.
So I was 27 when I went through level 3, and I think that was the hardest 4 weeks of my life. You go in there week 1, you don't want to look like a little punk. I was 27, a lot of those guys are under 25. And so I went, just went in there hard that first week, and then I get hurt, and I'm like, shit, I got 3 more weeks to go. And so every single day, you're just like, well, is it going to get easier? and they only got harder. And by week 3, week 4, you start asking yourself, is this really what I want? Do I want to be an instructor? Do I want to be a fighter? And so every day I wake up and it's the fact that everybody else showed up that I had to show up.
Yeah.
You know, if everybody else started quitting, I think it would have been easy to be like, oh yeah, it's too hard, let's quit. But the fact that all these other people were going, I was like, well, I can't be the punk. I can't quit. So in the Army, that's one thing I love is just your teammates, your camaraderie, the embarrassment if you don't do something. You know that you have to do it or else you're gonna get called out on shit.
Well, so because we all prior Army, right, and we all have leadership roles, I would almost assume that being in our Army helped us with our martial arts. It taught us how to keep striving, how to keep growing, how to deal with adversity, but also how to be a leader. And a lot of times to be a leader, you have to be a follower, you have to be able to take instructions. And I'm pretty sure all those things helped you in your career. You know, being that y'all are also Army instructors is really dope. Jeff, tell us something about your martial arts journey.
One of the biggest things to overcome in my martial arts journey was losing. Wanting to quit when I lose a fight, a BJJ match. It's just my mind. Every time I lose, my mind just rewinds to why am I doing this? Why am I here? But just the love for it just keeps bringing me back. I may walk in those, through the doors with my head down, but I'm back, and I want to learn because I have this image I want to be in my head, say 10 years from now, and it was wearing this color belt. So what I learned was like just not stopping, even though I lose matches, fights, you're gonna get there. None of the great black belts in BJJ got to where they're at by not losing, not tapping or anything. So that was just one of the biggest things to overcome, just losing and
losing. I tell you, man, you hit one of the biggest things, bro. Because once again, people come into this and they just think it's going to be the next Roger Gracie, the next Marcelo Garcia, right? And then they find out they're not even close to that, and they may never beat that either. I'm never going to be a Roger Gracie or Marcelo Garcia, but that doesn't mean that I can't be a better version of myself. And the biggest secret key to success is failure. Because you learn more from your failures than from your successes. And I think we have all learned that just through general life.
Yeah, a couple things, one thing that Steve said, he says all the time is, just be 1% better than you were yesterday.
Word.
You know what I mean? At least you're growing, at least you're striving to be better. I used to always tell my students that every day is ground zero. So whatever work you did yesterday doesn't matter. It's the work that you put in today. And then tomorrow, the work you did yesterday doesn't matter. It's what are you going to do today? That way we can increase to be 1% better every day. And eventually, we're just going to be a better version of ourselves. We're challenging our former self as opposed to challenging someone else. And that way we never have to compare ourselves to somebody like Roger Gracie.
Yeah.
I just want to be better me. I don't want to be another Roger Gracie. You know what I mean?
Plus the lessons that you learn, you could pass that on to the next person if you continue and you get your own school, or you start teaching class or teaching soldiers, and you may correct the next Roger Gracie or whatever the case may be. You never know how you can influence someone. And because we all fathers here, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
We all have sons.
Yeah, we all have sons, right? So I want my son to learn from my failures. Yeah. I want to give him the lessons that I learned so he don't have to go through those same pitfalls. I mean, he's going to make his own mistakes. He's going to learn his own lessons so he can pass it on to his kids. But that's what life is all about, right? Living, learning, losing, winning, all those things.
That's one thing I love about jiu-jitsu is because you got so many different types of people in there. I was talking earlier about soldiers, the infantry guys versus combat support guys. But even in jiu-jitsu, you got a cop that'll sit right next to a pothead and they'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
The cop is learning where the pothead's coming from. Pothead's coming, getting some insights about where the cop's coming from. And they get to learn together.
Yeah, that is so awesome because you're so right. If you look at it right now, look at us. Okay, we got white, we got black, we got Hawaiian. I mean Polynesian,
Filipino,
Asian, right? Come on, man, it's like United Nations. We got a freaking Trumper, it doesn't matter if you are what your race is, what your creed is, what your political affiliation. On the mat, we are all equal. The only thing that matters.
I think you guys are a little bit above me, though. You know. So.
No, because you know what? I bet you if you sat down and you showed me something, like I swear to God, we could probably spend hours of just teaching each other's tricks and like, oh wow, that's pretty dope. I never done that before. It doesn't matter how we do in a competition, because in competition, I'm just gonna go to the stuff that I'm really good at.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're on top ring trying to choke me out, I'm not thinking about how much more money you're making than me, or
Right.
what kind of girls I'm dating and you're not, or none of that shit
no,
matters.
no, it
it's
doesn't.
just like, is he gonna choke me out, or am I gonna escape it?
You know, it's so funny when it comes to competition, because you talked about losing, right? And what happens in competition, you go to stuff that you're really, really good at. It doesn't exactly mean when you lose, the guy is technically better than you. Okay, he just happened to have a certain skill set that may have overset your skill set, but doesn't mean he has more knowledge than you. Because like, if you go just over like knowledge, you may beat him. He could be just a better athlete, just a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. So I don't equate competition to like, oh, I suck, or he's better, whatever the case may be. It is a way to gauge yourself, to see some of your weaknesses, but that's how I look at it. So it's such a beautiful thing, martial arts, bringing people together, learning from your mistakes, teaching soldiers, being a better father. Man, I love you guys.
No, you guys too.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's another quick episode of Hard Work, Bad Decisions, the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's talk about it. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank the guys once again, Yako, Professor Yako, Professor Steven, and Professor Jeff for coming in, training with me. I'm gonna try to upload that video of us choking each other out. I don't know if it was much submission, but we grinded on each other.
You got choked out for sure.
Yeah. But see you next time. Good stuff, guys. Damn, sitting like that was not a good idea.
Oh man.